Your generator is going to get you killed. Not a maybe, not a risk to manage. A certainty if things go wrong long enough. And I'm not talking about carbon monoxide, though that'll do it too. I'm talking about something the prepper community almost never discusses. Your generator is a broadcast signal, a loud, hot, electromagnetic announcement that says, to anyone in range, that you have fuel, you have power, and you are worth visiting. That's the death trap. Every gas generator produces what engineers call an acoustic signature. That's the unique sound fingerprint of a running engine, and it travels further than you think. A standard 3,500-watt portable generator produces between 65 and 75 decibels at 23 feet. That's lawnmower territory. In a quiet, grid-down environment, no traffic, no HVAC hum, no industrial noise. That signal carries 400 to 600 meters in open terrain. Further at night, when temperature inversions drop the sound layer, you can hear it from half a mile away. In a deteriorating situation, that sound means one thing to anyone listening. Someone nearby has power. And power means fuel. And fuel means survival. You've just rung a dinner bell. The acoustic problem is bad. The thermal footprint is worse. A running gas engine produces exhaust heat, engine block heat, and fuel combustion infrared radiation. In a proper grid-down scenario, military, civil unrest, or regional infrastructure collapse, thermal imaging is available to more people than you think. Military surplus, law enforcement equipment, and hunting-grade thermal monoculars are common. At 200 meters, a running generator engine reads like a bonfire on a thermal device. You become a lit-up target on a dark landscape. Your generator isn't a survival tool. It's a thermal beacon in the dark. And then there's the math. A standard generator running at half load consumes roughly half a gallon of gasoline per hour. Run it 8 hours a day. Conservative, you need lights, comms, maybe refrigeration. That's 4 gallons daily. Most preppers have 20 to 30 gallons stored. That's 5 to 7 days. After that, you're dependent on resupply into a grid-down world where every gas station is dry, every road may be compromised, and every fuel run is an exposure event. Your generator has a hard expiration date, and when it hits, you've already made yourself a visible target for the entire runtime. There is a different way to do this. It doesn't run on gasoline. It makes no acoustic signature above 20 decibels. It produces no exhaust, no thermal plume, and no electromagnetic broadcast that a scanner can detect. It runs on physics. And you can build it almost entirely from scavenged components, motors that are already in the machines sitting in abandoned garages and strip mall gyms across the country. I call it the ghost generator. Here's what I'm going to walk you through. First, the physics of why this works, specifically why a permanent magnet motor is fundamentally different from the generators most people picture. Second, where to find these motors in a grid-down environment and exactly what to look for on the label. Third, the full build, wiring, mounting, drive mechanism, and output conditioning. And fourth, a live stress test. Real load, real voltage, on camera. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why the ghost generator isn't just quieter. It's a completely different category of survival tool. Let's talk about motors. Specifically, the difference between the kind of motor that can save your life and the kind that can't. When most people think about generating electricity, they picture the same thing. A fuel engine spinning a coil of wire inside a magnetic field. That's an induction generator. It requires external power to energize the magnetic field, and it requires a specific RPM range to produce stable output. Below that range, output collapses. Above it, you risk overvoltage. It's mechanically demanding, RPM sensitive, and electrically complex. It's also loud, because to hit the RPM threshold, you need a fast-spinning engine. A permanent magnet motor, a PMM, works on different physics entirely. Inside a PMM, the magnetic field is produced by permanent magnets fixed in the motor housing. No external field coil excitation required. When you rotate the armature, the wound coils cut through that permanent magnetic field and generate current. Faraday's law, changing magnetic flux through a conductor induces electromotive force. The critical difference: a PMM generates usable voltage across a much wider RPM range. You don't need high speed. You need consistent rotation. That's the key word, consistent. Not fast. Consistent. A brushed treadmill PMDC motor already produces DC output. The commutator and brush contacts act as a built-in mechanical rectifier. What comes out of the terminals is pulsating DC, not AC. Most survival electronics run on DC. Phones, radios, LED systems, battery banks. To convert that pulsating DC into stable DC, you need filter capacitors wired across the output terminals. That's it for a brushed motor. Capacitors across the terminals, and you have stable, usable power. This is the entire electrical principle of the ghost generator. The best scavengeable PMM source in the grid-down landscape is the treadmill motor. Treadmills use DC permanent magnet motors almost universally in models manufactured since the late 1990s. They're designed for continuous high-load operation. They're robust, they're weatherproof to a reasonable standard, and they're rated for the kind of punishment that long-term generation puts them through. A typical treadmill motor runs between 1.5 and 3.0 horsepower, with rated voltages between 90 VDC and 180 VDC. Spun in reverse, mechanically driven rather than electrically driven, they become generators. The same motor that ran the belt now charges your battery. This is not a modification. This is the motor doing exactly what the physics allows. You're just operating it in the opposite energy direction. Now you need to find one. In a grid-down scenario, the scavenging environment changes within days. Gym's close. Apartment complexes empty. Big box fitness retailers become accessible. Strip mall treadmill dealerships sit unlocked. These are your primary targets. Secondary, residential garages. Treadmills are one of the most abandoned pieces of home gym equipment in existence. In normal times, Craigslist is full of them for free. In grid down, they're sitting in garages across every suburb in the country. Third tier, washing machines. Late model front-load washers use brushless DC motors, not pure PMMs, but recoverable with more work. Not the first choice, but viable. Avoid top-load washers. Most use induction motors. Wrong physics. When you find a treadmill motor, you need to read the data plate before you commit to carrying it out. Look for 4 numbers. HP or watts. You want at least 1.5 HP. Anything less struggles under real load. VDC rating. This is the voltage the motor was designed to run at as a motor. When run as a generator, expect 40 to 60% of this at moderate crank speed. A 130 VDC motor will produce 60 to 80 VDC at a comfortable hand crank or bike crank speed. If the plate shows HP between 1.5 and 3.0, VDC between 90 and 180, and RPM under 3,500, take it. Here's the ghost generator build. Step by step. What you need: the treadmill motor, a bicycle, road bike preferred for the gearing range, a mounting frame, steel angle iron or a salvaged workbench frame, 2 filter capacitors, 2,200 microfarads, 200V rated, a 12V MPPT charge controller. This must be MPPT, not PWM. A 12V deep cycle battery, heavy gauge wire, minimum 10 AWG for the power runs. Fuses. Always fuse the output before anything else. Method 1. Friction drive. Mount the motor so its shaft roller sits against the rear tire. Pedaling spins the tire drives the motor shaft. Simple, low parts count, minimal fabrication. Method 2. Belt drive off the rear sprocket. Requires more fabrication, a bracket that aligns the motor pulley with the sprocket, but gives cleaner power transfer and better RPM control through the bike's gearing. Both work. Method 1 is faster to build under field conditions. Method 2 is more durable for long-term use. Secure the motor with U-bolts through the frame. It will vibrate. It needs to be rigid. Motor terminals directly to the filter capacitor bank. Connect motor positive to capacitor positive, motor negative to capacitor negative. The commutator has already done the rectification. From the capacitor bank, run to the MPPT charge controller's PV input. The controller treats your generator output exactly as it treats a solar panel. Variable high voltage input, regulated output to the battery. Set the controller for 12V charging. Connect your deep cycle battery to the controller's battery terminals. Fuse every run. 30 amp fuse between generator output and charge controller. 20 amp fuse between controller and battery. If you short something, you lose a fuse, not a motor. Noise sources in this system. The motor bearings, the mechanical drive interface, and any resonance in the mounting frame. Motor bearings. A well-maintained treadmill motor runs at under 35 decibels at 1 meter. Library quiet. Drive interface. Friction drive on a properly inflated tire produces a low hiss, not a mechanical knock. Below 30 decibels. Frame resonance. Rubber isolation mounts between the motor bracket and the frame drop resonant transmission by 15 to 20 decibels. Total acoustic signature at 10 meters, effectively silent against ambient outdoor noise. No exhaust, no combustion, no thermal plume above ambient body heat. This is what the ghost generator means. Not just quiet, acoustically invisible. One critical engineering note on human power generation. Sustainable output matters more than peak output. A fit adult can produce 100 to 150 watts of mechanical power sustainably over a 1-hour period. At 70% efficiency, that's 70 to 100 watts of electrical output. A 12V 100-watt deep cycle battery holds 1,200 watt-hours at full charge. At 70 watts average output, you're looking at roughly 17 hours of pedaling to charge a fully depleted battery. That's not a criticism. That's the math. Manage it by only draining the battery to 50% before recharging, having the recovery time. Run in shifts with multiple people. Prioritize loads. Comms first, lights second, everything else third. The ghost generator doesn't give you unlimited power. It gives you sustainable, silent, indefinite power. Let's test it. Motor mounted. Circuit wired. Battery connected. Charge controller showing battery voltage. 11.8 volts. Depleted. Load selected. A survival hand crank and solar radio and a phone at 15% battery. Pedaling begins. Generator output at the MPPT controller input. 58 volts DC. Controller output to the battery. 14.4 volts. That's the absorption charge voltage for a 12V lead-acid system. Right on target. Battery voltage climbing. 11.9, 12.1, 12.3. At moderate pedaling pace. Comfortable, sustainable, not a sprint. Input wattage. 85 watts. The motor is silent. The room is quiet. There is no exhaust smell. No heat plume. Nothing broadcasting our location. Phone connected. Charging confirmed. Radio connected. Operating on battery power from the system. Weather band active. Signal clear. This is the proof of concept. Communications maintained. Device charging. Battery recovering. All from pedaling a bicycle. No fuel. No noise. No thermal signature. I'll be straight with you about the limitations, because this channel doesn't do hype. This system will not run a refrigerator. It will not run power tools. It will not replace a 3,500 watt generator for high-load applications. What it will run: LED lighting systems, communications equipment, device charging, small medical devices, and battery banks that then power everything else. In a survival context, comms and light are your highest priority electrical loads. The ghost generator covers both indefinitely without exposing your position. That's not a compromise. That's a strategic trade. Here's what I need you to take out of this video. Your gas generator is not a neutral tool. It's a liability that announces your position, burns through an irreplaceable fuel supply, and has a hard expiration date measured in days. The ghost generator is not a perfect replacement. It's a different category, silent, indefinite, fuel independent, and buildable from what already exists in the collapsed world around you. The physics are simple. The build is achievable. The scavenging targets are everywhere. If this breakdown was useful to you, subscribe. Every video on this channel is built the same way. Real science, real engineering, real numbers, no fluff. Blackout Fox out.